Good evening and welcome to this edition of the Island Stats Football Show. I'm your host, Earl Basting. Joining me, our co-hosts, Garrett Punchy Dill and Maceo Dill. Well, gentlemen, we've had the FA Cup semifinals take place midweek. We've had the league in both the Premier and First Division take shape, as well as we now know who the relegated teams are in the Premier Division. But first, let me run down the scores from this week's football. In the FA Challenge Cup semi-finals, it was PHC Zebras 1, St. George's Colts 0, North Village Rams 6, Paget Lions 2. In Premier Division action, yesterday at Wellington Oval was Hamilton Parish 2, Robin Hood 0. Last night at the PHC Stadium, it was PHC Zebras 2, Dendy Town Hornets 0. At Bernard Park today, it was North Village Rams 1, Devonshire Cougars 2. At Wellington Oval, it was St. George's Colts 3, Crossroads 2. And over at the BAA Field, it was the Boulevard Blazers 1, Somerset Trojans 1. In First Division, it was Devonshire Colts going down to Social Club 1-0 yesterday at the Police Field. And then also yesterday at the Southampton Oval, it was Southampton Rangers 1, St. David's 3. Today at the Southampton Oval, it was Paget Lions 3, BAA 1. And up at the White Hill Field, it was Somerset Eagles 0, Wolves 2. And what we're going to do, we're going to jump right into those FA Cup matches, the semi-final matches. Let's first talk about the opening one that took place at the Devonshire Recreation Club on Wednesday night. It saw the St. George's Colts go down for a fourth time this year to the PHC Zebras. Maceo, your thoughts on PHC being able to beat St. George's 4 times this year, and most importantly, first, as we've noted last week, took them out of contention of winning the league, and then midweek took them out of contention of winning the FA Cup.
Interesting enough, a friend of mine sent me a video of a match I commentated between PHC and St. George's like 6 years ago. And as Alps Rangers and PHC put 4 past St. George's there, and it was St. George's got 3. So what that keeps telling me when I see that the inability to organize to stop goals. And if we go back to St. George's, even though they had the best goalkeeper in Blaster Soul and Freddie Hall, when he was able to organize a bit from a goalkeeper perspective to organize his defense to stop goals. But coaching needs to organize in that. Coaching needs to be the one that organizes and sets up to be able to stop goals. And that leads to stop goals leads to people being disciplined and organizing yourself from a disciplined point of view to be able to stop goals. And it keeps showing up in Bermuda that we lack that discipline. We lack that discipline because stopping goals in the game is the easiest part of the game. So if you take a Jose Mourinho, the idea of parking the bus or whatever, and just organizing yourself and staying disciplined and becoming hard to beat. And St. George's lacked that. St. George's lacked that the other night because I think the teams would have been a little bit tired, and PHC got one goal early, and they could be organized to stop St. George's with all their attacking power. With all the attacking power, St. George's said they couldn't score and they can't stop goals. It's always a problem when you can't stop goals. And then when I look at St. George's from selection, I'm totally convinced now after watching the game the other night, and I've talked to their coach. I talked to my cousin, Calvin Deal, and I've talked to another member of staff and Jeremy Salam's son that's down there. They're not got the puzzle put together properly and the players being in the right positions. They're not got the players in the right position that give them the security of being able to stop goals. I can totally see that there's players are not in the right positions, and they also struggle when a team's organized enough to stop their attack. When a team's organized enough to stop their attack, they struggle to to monitor attack. And I also want to, as I'm being critical of their, because I think St. George's had the best players this year, and they're not winning anything for having the best players. And people think, Bermuda thinks you just have to have the best players and you win. They say that to me. Oh, make sure you had the best players. You had Cantuan Keith, you had Jamaica, you had all this, and this is how you win. Bermuda needs to understand that having the best players don't guarantee you winning. You have to organize. So I'll take a selection team. I saw that the kid, Malachi Trott, was about to get sent off the first game of PHC when things didn't go right. I saw that kid was having a meltdown. And they started in the second game. And then within the first half, he sent off. That's coaching. That's coaching, not knowing where your players are and when they're there. That's coaching has the ability to select or not select that person based on what the team needs. Coaching has that ability. You have the ability to say, look, this guy's just not in the right space just yet. He's not mentally, emotionally in the right space, and it could be damaging to the team if I select him. Coaching has that ability, and this is where coaching is not happening for St. George's. That's where it's not happening, and being aware of where your players are, when they're there, and how do you select them and how do you set up. So I say all this to say that St. George's, having the best players this season, haven't won anything. Bermuda, let that be example. Having the best players is not enough. You have to have strategy. You have to select right. You have to have psychology. You have to have all these different tools to be able to win something. So St. George's should be disappointed.
Yeah, Punchy. When you look at St. George's, 4 times to 1 team, unable to figure it out. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm giving you some statistics, what I spoke about, what I've talked about with St. George's people also. If you look at the goals that they conceded, right, there are 5 goals conceded to PAC from corners, set pieces. That's a worrying. And I thought, wow, the coaching staff should have figured that out. The other thing is, sir, if you look at the amount of goals conceded against one team, it's almost up to 10 or 11 now. You know that, right? It's up to yeah. But my concern about that, again, getting back to the coaching staff, is you couldn't figure this out. You couldn't figure this out, and you got to start pointing fingers at the coaching staff or the players. See, I'm agreeing with Maceo. They have an abundance of talent. How do you make it work? Now, the other night out there, after going on 10 men, they decided, okay, we're gonna play over the top, and I thought it was a good decision. But what was happening is I'm not gonna call names, but there was a very deficiency in runs coming off of Jonte, so they started to play the ball over the top, and that's how Blaze Hall got in. And twice he should have scored those 2 goals. I think it's Blaze, yes. But the point again is, sir, is that what do you know about the coaching? What St. George is about? The good at it, you can see him play some at the back. PAC had constantly monitor chances. Let's say team chances that PAC created. There weren't much. There weren't much. The problem that St. George have, and again, is about decision making. And there's a young man. There's the person number 17. I can't even Chico. He was poor on Tuesday night. I don't know why he was even in the team. He doesn't make runs. So the midfield, he didn't make no runs. So you got to make run. You got to get players at time. And one man down make players, midfield players make runs beyond the center forward. And you never saw it. So my problem, again, with St. George's, there is potential there. How is it very put into place that they should win? They should be beating these teams. And you look at this whole. I see some crap. I see some good football from them, but there's a lack. There's still something missing from them. I think it's a learning process for them still. I mean, look at John Tate. I'm always looking at it. I always thought it was a good gauge for us in Bermuda. You got John Tate has played it over in England. You got the whole boys have been over there. So you see there's quality there, but there's still a lack of proficiency in terms of games like the other night. Whereas Blaze should have scored those 2 goals, and then it might have been a different way. it's a learning process for them, a learning process for the coaching staff at St. George's, and you know, it takes time. It's not going to happen overnight.
Well, the very next night, it was North Village taking on Paget Lions. There was, you know, a lot of talk, hoping that Paget was going to be able to pull off an upset. Basically, talk a little bit about Paget themselves, because they come into this game really with nothing to lose, because they're in the first division. You even gave them an opportunity to win. You picked them to win. So talk a bit about Paget and the result that they got against North Village.
Well, I think the game played out. I mean, I went against the grain to pick Paget to win. I think playing against North Village, they would have had the best opportunity to win based on how the two teams played. And it was playing itself out early where Paget were up 2-1, 2 penalties. And I like to make a statistics. It's a joke, right? It's a joke that I have. Antoine Russell in his career in Bermuda, he's probably had 50 penalties. And out of the 50 penalties, I'll tell you, Francis is called 40 of them. Yeah. So this is statistics that and I'm not even suggesting anything untowards. I'm not here suggesting anything to untowards, but coaching internationally knows these things. They know that because a referee is part of the game. It's part of the game. And I was at the game, and I said to some fans, I said, I bet you Antoine Russell gets a penalty tonight, friend. And people would try to figure out how I know this. Well, it happened. I said, well, statistics, when you study as a coach, you see statistics. You see, this is what this ref thought. This is what I got to pay attention to. This is part of the game. A referee is part of the analogy of the game in the international world of football. But as getting back to the game, and they were clear penalties that Francis called the other day. North Village, the first one made a mistake. You know, Antoine Russell was smart enough to get in the box and stand still and let somebody run into the back of him. You know, and the second one, you know, North Village got a little anxious when the dribbler hard was cutting across the box and putting in a tackle when he went down. They were easy clear cut penalties. But for Paget, I've been saying it all year, they can't stop goals. They can't stop goals. Paget looked like they could be scored on every time the ball gets in the last third. They're panicking. And it showed up. It showed up that they can't stop goals. And they can threaten North Village. And then after a while, Paget got tired. North Village looked like Brazil. They really did. They looked like Brazil in the second half of the game, moving the ball around, everybody getting a touch, opening Paget right up and scoring. You know, North Village definitely, they look like Brazil. They, you know, so kudos to North Village. You know, they got across the line 6-2, and we know North Village has not been scoring those 6 goals. North Village has not been scoring 6 goals. They've been winning games by discipline, by 1 or goal. The fact that they put 6 in Paget says something about Paget, right?
Yeah.
They can't stop goals.
Let me ask Punchy. Punchy, 6 goals for North Village in the semifinals against Paget. What's your thoughts on that?
I'm just adding to what Maceo said. After a while, you know, the front 3 of Paget, you cut off the supply route, right? You make it difficult. Let's go back to the first goal that Paget got. Of course, Antoine, Kenny played the young right fullback. He's young. His last name is Bean, anyway.
Yeah.
Very Antoine takes full advantage. What's his name, Mason?
Tariq.
Full advantage. It was full advantage. The young man's not bad, but you cannot. What happened that night was that, I mean, Kenny said, okay, well, we're gonna play this young man against Antoine. Antoine just picked on him. And the second goal, I think the second goal that caused the penalty, Trey got excited. Now, I just saw the guy that he fouled, the young man, not bad little player too, left footer. I don't know his name. Yeah. Now he's good, of course. He was in the center of the goal. He's on 18-yard box, right? Now he starts cutting. The Trey should have just guided him out wide. So a bad decision by Trey. But of course, after you look at, when I started looking at the game wore on, right, and it was 2-1. Then there was so much space for North Village to play into. I was like, this is good. You know the goal is coming. Yeah. So again, what Maceo was saying is, adding to what Maceo says, they cannot at this level. North Village scores 6 goals. and they look comfortable. They look comfortable. I mean, there's the month of passings. There was 5, 6, 10 passes, and when they got into the middle of the third, after they broke the front line, the first line of Paget's defense, it was easy for him. He just knew what's gonna happen here. Right. Paget again with Antoine. That also is something that he has to think about in the future. He needs some recruitment. He definitely needs recruitment. It's going to be like what happened to Parish. I think it's a similarity. They come up the first thing, they get promoted. Let's say they got a night game against Cougars on a Friday night. They're not going to win that game. They're not going to win. Then what happens to players after they start losing 2 or 3 games? They come on a Sunday afternoon. Now they got to go to St. George's to play. Are they ready for this? And it's a perfect example of what's happening with Hamilton Parish. I'm sure of that. And so, Paget, they have to think about recruitment. That's what's going to happen for them. With what I saw the other night at the back, I think the goalkeeping department is fine, but they need definitely in the midfield area. There's a lack of quality in the midfield area, and at the back, they will concede goals to Cougars next year when they come up. They will concede goals to St. George's, and Denny Tons is going to bounce back, of course. So Paget. Analyzing Paget, he's got a lot of work. He's got work to do, and I hope he decides to coach and not play. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah. And if I can just add to that, because I'm going on about coaching, I'm trying to send out signals or send out messages to coaches that listen to the show about what their responsibility is. So if you even talk about Paget being able to get 2 girls, Kenny has the ability to select. He selected this young guy to play against an experienced Antoine Russell. And then halftime, he's got to take this young guy off. He brings on a more experienced player in Frey, and he puts a more experienced player in Knights at right back. Stops the bleeding. But he selected the young guy, and now he's got to take the young guy off. What do you think psychologically happens to a young guy and putting him in a situation that is not ready for? Psychologically, you destroy a player. You destroy a player with that. And now let's take Paget. The inability to stop girls, because this is coaching. And I like to use the scenario, Andrew Bascom at Boulevard has a goalkeeper that we call Mumbly Fumbly. But he wins the league, and he gives up the least amount of goals in winning the league with a goalkeeper called Mumbly Fumbly. Why? It's because he set his team up in a way from coaching to be hard to beat. He set his team up. I knew, even with me having the so-called best players at North Village, I was linking girls early. I had to figure out the solution to set my team up that they stop linking girls and to give my attacking players. And part of the solution to stop linking girls at North Village at that time was taking a player, which was Kevin Jennings, that was historically deemed to be this great attacking player, and playing him right back. And psychologically, I had to convince him to do that for the team. And with Kevin, Cantuan, Kofi, those type of players, I stopped linking girls. Because I had a goalkeeper in Zane Hendrickson that was a shot blocker, not an organizer. Now, if I had Streaker in goal, who's an organizer, be different. So this is coaching, Bermuda. Coaching is not just putting the best players on the field. You have to get in deep.
Yeah. Well, let's take our first commercial break. When we come back, we'll look at the league matches that took place this weekend. We'll be right back.
John Barrett & Son is bringing us something fresh and exciting for the new year. Bai Antioxidant Infusion Beverage. Bai delivers the natural antioxidant benefits of the coffee fruit in glorious combination with a variety of exotic fruit flavors, with only 1 gram of sugar and 10 calories per bottle. The folks at Bai are inviting us on a world tour through these amazing flavors. Brasilia blueberry, Zambia Bing cherry, Costa Rica clementine, Malawi mango, Panama peach, Ipanema pomegranate, Kupang strawberry kiwi, and more. Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends, and that's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that people have allowed me and trusted me to be in their life.
And welcome back. Well, yesterday at the Wellington Oval, Hamilton Parish took on Robin Hood and came away with a 2-0 victory. Jordan Utterbridge getting both goals in the second half. It would appear now we talked about him in particular last week, not scoring goals, and then here he comes with 2 goals to help Hamilton Parish beat Robin Hood 2-0. Let's talk a little bit about Hamilton Parish. They're pretty much safe in the league. They actually overtook Dandytown, so they're now in 5th place with 24 points. You look at it, Maceo, 7 wins, 7 losses, 3 draws in their 17 games so far. How would you wrap up their season?
I would say it's
I think he's he's having these regular dropouts. But Punchy, what's your thoughts on Hamilton Parish's season?
Well, it's still a cause for concern about in Bermuda the mentality, because like week before last when Norfolk is playing them, they showed up with 13 players or 14 players. And once they're out of the competition, let's say they're out of the FA, now they're not in for league contention. So what is the mentality of the players there? Now I was very disappointed in that too, in terms of who showed up against Norfolk, and they weren't bad.
Right.
Norfolk weren't proficient against that game. We weren't very proficient against that in that game. But my concern for Hamilton Parish again is what recruitment, what they're gonna, the mentality there. I thought that this year the bonuses should be on maybe the FA, getting to the FA, or the other cup they could have been involved with. But I think the main thing should be staying up and being very, very, let's say, coming to 4th or 3rd. That's what they should look at with the talent that they have. Mm-hmm. But it's not happened. Yeah. And we're talking about Jordan Utterbridge. Okay, I watched him all last year, the last couple of years. There was a lot of talk about him. The minute now he's in another division. He's in the high division now. That means how they're not getting the time on the ball. Of course, you're expecting Hamilton Parish last year or year before last to beat teams like Wolves, to beat teams like Rangers. So now it's like now you're in this. What do you do now? And I think Sergio is going to have to galvanize that team, because they do have young good players. I've seen some good young players on there. He has to galvanize them and start again. They're almost like an Aston Villa. If I can put that, they're like an Aston Villa, rebuilding with talent. With Sergio's first year, wouldn't it be his first year up in the top division?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So I just think they got to think about rebuilding recruitment, what to do over the summer, and what they got to start looking at next year.
Sure. Maceo, you were saying something about Hamilton Parish?
Yeah. when you take into account the coach's first year up there, so he up in this division, so he doesn't have that experience up in that division. A lot of the players their first year up in that division. When you take into account where they finish and what they've done and what they're learning, you can give a good mark. You can give a passing mark. So I'll say that I'll give you a passing mark. I'll give you a 50%, a C. But I also think there should also be a bit of disappointment because they had the ability in a couple of situations to do a little bit better. They got to 2 semifinals. I mean, they got to the semifinals of the Dudley Eve, and they couldn't beat a Somerset that was struggling. They got to they played the other night in the quarterfinals of the FA, and they dropped out. So they had some abilities to do a little bit better. So there should be a bit of disappointment, and it'll be interesting if they can take that experience this year from the disappointment and go into next year. But it would have just been that better if they took it into next year with a trophy. Knowing the players, knowing the mentality of people that we have, it would have been better that they take next year go into next year with a trophy. Yeah.
Well, I guess, seeing this comment here, when do they look to get that goalkeeping issue sorted out? Nigel can't play forever.
Oh, well, Nigel's in good shape. So it's like Nigel's an outlier. He does rugby. He keeps himself physically in good shape. And so there's no need to rush a Nigel. There's no need to rush a Nigel if they don't get another goalkeeper in play. I actually think at one point the St. George's goalkeeper was heading to Paris. He opted to go to play for St. George's. And I think Nigel probably is a better bat for him right now. So there's no reason to hang Nigel up just yet, because he keeps himself in physical shape. Right? So there's no need to rush that decision. Yes, they might need another backup goalkeeper, somebody coming with Nigel, because Nigel does travel. They might need a few more, outfield players. Yeah. Yeah. So there's no need to rush a Nigel.
Right. Then last night, PHC moved within 1 point of winning the Premier Division following their 2-0 defeat of the Dendy Town Hornets. How ironic. The Dendy Town Hornets are the defending league champions. That was their 9th league loss last night. Are you shocked at that, Punchy?
No, not shocked. Mentally, they're not there. And that's what we said, after this season, what is really drastically going wrong there. The players, I watched some games last week before last when they played against Montfort. They still got players. But the effort and the team cohesiveness is just not there. It's like, okay, we missed a goal. There's like, it's nonchalant. And you're not getting the best out of good players. And after a while, again, they're not in the contention to win anything. And I think what I get out of this with Dendy Town, how long has the club been shut down now? How long? 2 or 3 years now?
It's been 2 years now.
I think it's 2 or 3 years. I think it's had an effect on them. Even after winning what they did last year or last year, it's having an effect on them mentally. And I think what makes it, we talk about at the beginning of the season, what's happening with them, the mental thing, what do they want? You're talking about Tamika Good, you're talking about not bad players here. Judo Bay up. And it's like, I watch them, they're just, all they're doing is going through the process, that's all. They're just showing up and playing, that's it. And so that's what Dendy Town. I do think the direction, what we'll see when the field is completed, when they start getting back to games at St. John's Road, you're going to see a different Dendy Town.
So I keep my ear to the ground about all football, right? And I try to keep it objective on this show and promote football. But when we look at Dendy Town last year and this year, it's a missing factor that's in Dendy Town. Jay Beam's not there. I already know I know that while Aaron Dankins, inexperienced, he coached girls, and he came over to men's football, and the combination of Jay and Aaron was good for Danny Tom. That combination of yin and yang was good. I know what Jay brings to the table, and I know what Aaron brings to the table. You know, and I know that balance creates the dynamics. That balance creates the dynamics. From Jay Bean has been missing, you know, for whatever reasons, he is not involved. And I know, and I knew Aaron Dankins would have a hard time relating to male players and getting male players to respect him, even if he knows what he's doing or what is not. You know, it would have a hard time getting those type of players to respect him. And those are the things that I can see now that I watch Danny Ton and the body language between the players and the coach. You know, he's had a hard time, you know, getting people to carry out his plan.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a big difference in Danny Ton. You know, that's something that they have to look into, you know, as it relates to going into next season, because they're a good enough club. They're a good enough club based on the level of Bermuda, and they got good enough players that they shouldn't have been this bad. They should, you know, this is bad what they are. Let's make no bones, it's bad what Danny Ton is done or not done.
You look at a team like, okay, so let's move on to PHC. They're 1 point away. 1 point away. I mean, everybody would have been looking at today's match, and we'll get to that one between North Village and Cougars. Had that been a draw or Cougars lost, the league would have been wrapped up. But PHC has done a remarkable job of making sure they take care of the business that they need to take care of, the team that they're facing all season kind of thing. You know, if you look at it, they've lost 3 times. Cougars only lost twice, but what's hurt Cougars is there's 3 draws. 3 draws have hurt them. But looking at PHC last year, Maceo, you was quite critical about how the coaches set them up. What's your thoughts on this year?
They learned again. They learned, and you know, PHC lost. Everybody was up in arms. PHC lost 12, 13 players, but look, you know, Antoine Russell, big figure players. I mean, Pagic looked like PHC the other night, right? Pagic looked like, I'm saying, am I watching PHC or am I watching Pagic? But they lost all these players, but what PHC's built coming through. So now you get a Dayon Lodge that's coming through, that's able to play and has had a stellar season. You got the left back that's now being called the left back in the Bonner's son. You know, another player that's coming through. You get Abraham that's coming through, that can play, and you got Marco now leading this young group. It would have been difficult for Marco to lead an Antoine Russell, you know, lead a Trey Mean, lead those people would have been different. But now you get the leadership quality of Marco coming through, and now you get the coaching organization that's there. So they learned what PHC's coaches have showed me, that they learned from their last year experience. They was brave enough to go in the direction that they're going in, and they're putting the puzzle together right. They're putting the puzzle together right to get the results, and PHC's in line for the Triple Crown. They're in line for the Triple Crown, and I will bet that they do it. I will bet that they're capable of getting across the line. That's going to gain momentum now that the league's there, the friendship's there, and they're in the finals. That conversation is gaining momentum. Now let's see how the coaching staff manage that momentum. And they play Boulevard next week. I think it's about getting them ready to play Boulevard. You know, like they got ready to play St. George's. They didn't just go to beat St. George's 4-0 again. It was 1-0. They managed what they had to do. Like, I know of situations where it's the kid Bean. The kid Liam Bean spot, Keyshawn Bean. He's got loads of potential. And the coaching staff has got to figure out how to bring it out of him. They got to figure out, and sometimes it's like, okay, you're starting, and you got 15 minutes to score. And if you don't, you're coming off. Putting them under that pressure. One game that information was given to him, he scored in 15 minutes. So it's trying to bring stuff out, and you see how they're bringing it out of the ceiling. Seal is now getting itself to be a goal scorer. And I know that maybe last year or the last year beginning, players like that might have been frustrated with their lack of starting or their lack of playing time. But coaches are bringing that along. You see they're bringing that along. And if a player gets too ahead of herself, how do you reel them back in? But this is all part of coaching. And I see PHC doing that. You could just see it. You could see it happening. You know, you could see it happening. And they're not, PHC is not saying, oh, this kid, the guy, Paul, okay, he's not scoring goals. There's a striker, we're going to drop him.
Yeah, because he's creating.
They know what else is bringing him. It's almost like Jesus at Arsenal. You know, he made 11 games without scoring goals, but he gave Arsenal that platform to be where they are. So this is, you can see management's happening, man management's happening, tactics is happening. All these things are happening that make PHC, that put PHC where they are now. But if they don't get all threes, they're going to be disappointed.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take another commercial break. When we come back, we'll talk about the 3 Premier Division games that took place today. We'll be right back.
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, you know, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends. And that's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that people have allowed me and trusted me to be in their life.
You seen this?
Here's one of our favorite feature brands, true veterans of the food awareness movement. Bob's Red Mill, the U.S. leading miller of organic whole grain foods. Only whole grains have the entire value developed during growth. And once you try them, you know that this is the way food was intended to be. Try Bob's Red Mill blanched almond, whole wheat pastry, and artisan bread flours, and 1-to-1 gluten-free baking flour, unsweetened shredded coconut, gluten-free homemade wonderful bread mix, and a variety of rolled oats. Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
Today at Bernard Park, it was either the champion would be crowned or one team gets eliminated from the race. We saw St. George's get eliminated from the race last week, and North Village were eliminated from the race today with a 2-1 loss to the Devonshire Cougars, who are now 3 points behind league leaders PHC with 1 game to play. But the goal difference is different. It's a 10 gap. PHC have scored 40 goals. They're plus 40, and Devonshire Cougars are plus 30. Ironically, Devonshire Cougars play Robin Hood in their final game, and PHC face the other relegated team in the Boulevard Blazers. But let's talk about this game today. North Village and Devonshire Cougars 0-0 at the half. North Village score first, going against the wind. And then Devonshire Cougars pull out a gem of an equalizer. Punchy, one of the first times someone decided to have a shot going with the wind outside the box. And 35-yarder.
Wow. Wow. What a screamer. Yeah. It was like Trey Means goal the other night of PHC. A screamer. But you got to see where the goal came from. It's Kyler Knights. There's a lot of talk about Kyler Knights. It's just, getting back to the game, then I'm not picking on Kyler Knights anyway, but let's go back to North Village in this game, what they were so against Paget compared to what they have playing against Cougars. They're not going to be allowed their space. They didn't allow no time on the ball. So you could see that when they had to play against teams like Devonshire Cougars, St. George's, and actually PHC, they will not be allowed the time on the ball. And so what we saw the other night was just easy after they got into the second third of the field and the top third. So with Paget. Now today I saw the deficiencies of certain players at Northridge have with what Kenny is coaching. I'm not talking about what Kenny's his style of coaching. I'm talking about the players that he has at his disposal. I don't think that they were very proficient today. Kyler Knights, again, everybody speaks about him. I hate to call this anyway. Speaks about it. If you go down Northridge's right side, you can go against him. Both goals came from that situation. Both goals came from there. Kenny protects him, he plays him, but there's so many mistakes that he makes. He's a nice person, don't get me wrong, nice person. But in terms of when Kenny brings him inside to play alongside, and he plays inside, and if he plays 4 at the back or 3 at the back, Kyler is more protected. When it's one-on-one, especially against Lele, what's his name, Lele?
Yeah.
Eat him up all day.
Eat him up all day.
All day. So it's just what Kenny has got to work with. And it's very obvious. You have a coach that knows what he wants to do, but then you don't have the players that can follow, that just not, you just, against better opposition, you will be tested. And Lele just, all day just roasting one-on-one. It was easy. And the second goal was just like, he was so out of position. Anyway, I'm not picking on him personally, but I'm saying about this, sir. Northridge, again, at that level, when you play against teams like Cougars or PHC, you will not be allowed that time on the ball. And then you got to be a lot more proficient in terms of how you keep the ball and how you create goals. And I think it was obvious today, what I saw today. It was very important for them to win this game today. But, I just thought there's a lack what you saw, what I thought about Northridge. Now, the beginning of the season, don't get me wrong, they beat PHC twice. They were very, very at organized back. Okay, you're not gonna come through us. Welcome, and I thought that philosophy was really good. They beat PHC out there Rec, and they beat PHC up at PHC when remember the lights, right? And I thought the strategy was good. But then it's going out the door today. And I've seen it a lot. I've seen it like, if you're winning 1-0 and you're defensive behavior, and then you counter-attack and you score that old goal, you scored the goal on a counter-attacking. I thought that was okay. One team in this country finally got it. Set up blocks, make sure you're not coming through. You can push Mark and Warren away from goal, and then you score this old goal. But then it's just going to do it now. And I thought they were too open today, and they weren't very good at all. Not very good. I'll tell you, not very good at all. Yeah. And a lot of aspects of the. I'm talking about individually. Some players, Kenny must be pointing his finger at some of the players.
Nathan, let me ask you, because it was a must-win situation for Devonshire Cougars as well. They weren't having the best of days. Neither team was really having the best of days. Struggling to work out the conditions and so forth. But looking at Devonshire Cougars when they went down 1-0, they kind of played on purpose after that. Wouldn't you agree?
Devonshire Cougars has got more grit than North Village. Kwame, as a personality, has got more grit than Kenny. He's got more grit and more grind when it comes down to a game that's based on grit and grind. Devonshire Cougars at this base, they got more grit. That's something with North Village. We used to say that North Village could play on a sunny day at National Stadium or in Park. Put them in the rain, they're in a little trouble. Put them in adverse conditions, they're in a little trouble. I used to call them mama's boys. And something we had to correct at North Village during the time. We had to correct what is termed to be these mama's boys that moan and cry when we can't play pretty. When somebody kicks us, that had to be correct. North Village is back to that. They're back to that behavior. And Devonshire Cougars could grind those out. they can grind out those results. And Kwame, of a personality, he can grind out those results when it comes down to that piece. I am a lot more critical from the coaching standpoint because of my experience with coaching. So when I look at North Village and Devonshire Cougars, Kwame has worked with what he hears and creating a strategy to work with what he hears. He's learning to create that strategy, and he's had patchwork. He's patched it up all season to keep himself in the conversation. We talked about North Village. As soon as they have to do it, you're gonna see that they can do it. And that now flips me when I look at coaching and Kenny. He has a conflict about how he wants to play and who he selects to play like that. That's a conflict. So it used to be Kenny wants to control the ball. He wants to outplay people, so he needs young players that listen. He needs people. But then he had a problem with who he selects to put in the type of position. So Punchy talks about Carla Knights. Okay, you're going to put Carla Knights up against the most experienced winger in Bermuda. He's going to eat him. Versus the young kid with the curly hair that fights and will get in your face. He might be another back because he's not going to give Lijon the respect. It's going to be on him. It's going to make it hard for him to touch the ball. So that comes down to a selection. And Kwame selects his team based on what he's got correctly. Based on what he's got, he puts that puzzle together correctly. But Cougars has just not been good enough this season. They're still not been good enough to win. And that's because they're not had all the resources available to them all season. They're not had all the resources available to them.
Right. Well, I want to say congratulations to Tosh Bow. He won the Bow battle today. He and Letty won, and Detroit Letty too. So
yeah, I mean, and saying that, like, we have to highlight these things because when we say Ken has not got the players, his North Village has had players over the years that Kenny has discouraged away from North Village, and now Kenny's got all his own players there. He's got all the players that he's brought to North Village. So in England they talk about building your own team. Ken has had the ability to build his own team and is not getting the results. So the responsibility has to lie with that. With that. And sorry for North Village if Kenny steps aside and the players go with him. North Village is in shambles. They're in shambles. So we could talk about North Village and Kenny letting Trey Meany in. I think it's been a disaster. He's been sent off in crucial times. He's not. And I'm not saying Trey Meany's not a quality player, but I think his pass is best now. And PHC let him go. It didn't work out for Rangers for him, but we take him at a club like North Village, and even if we go back to the finals up there where he plays Trey Meany over the younger players, I put the responsibility at the coaching staff of North Village and the administration of North Village that they're not leading the club in a good direction.
Well, let's move over to BAA because that match there, Boulevard, if they wanted to survive, had to beat Somerset Trojans, the team they were trying to catch. There was a 5-point gap going into the game. Boulevard took the lead, but unfortunately couldn't hold on to the lead. Somerset got an equalizer. The match ended 1-1, thus sending the Boulevard Blazers back to the first division. We've highlighted so many things about Boulevard, the troubles they had this season, digging themselves into a hole under Jomar, Jomar's let go. They still got to stabilize themselves. But where do they go from here? Where does Boulevard go from here, Maceo?
Well, we talked about it last week. From a coaching standpoint, they've been saved by Bermuda's voting themselves back 50 years, saying that you don't need qualifications to coach. So they'll get a coach. They'll get somebody that's galvanized to say, this is our community, we're going to coach, and this is what we're going to do. They'll get that. But Boulevard's club structure, like I would want to ask the BFA, what is their mandate that allows you to be a club, that allows you to operate? And are these clubs meeting that? Are these clubs meeting the mandate to be associated as a member club of the BFA? Are they meeting that? Are they having regular AGMs? Are they doing things in a correct governance way? Or are we just going back to neighborhood football again? Boulevard's got so many issues. They've got so many organization issues that they need new people. Man. They need new people, not the same people from 20 years ago, 30 years ago. They need new people to give them new ideas. Or if it was me at Boulevard and nobody likes this conversation, I'll disband. I'll disband and join forces. If it's about helping those players in that area, I'll join forces with the Cougars, a North Village, and a Denny Town. That happens anyway. That happens anyway. That happens anyway. It doesn't happen officially, but a Boulevard player will go and do that. A Boulevard coach will go and do that. I mean, if we take Malcolm Ewing, he's been at North Village when things are tougher. When Boulevard's not acting right, yes, as a coach and as a player, his historical from that area, from Boulevard, but he's came over to North Village at times. And Boulevard, it just don't work. I'm sad to say it. I don't see him getting any better going down. Right. Is it the tried every coach? I'm just sad to say it. I don't see him getting any better.
Punchy, with the results, Somerset survived. When they won that trophy back in November, we were talking highly of them, but they've struggled in the league. They've just done enough to survive. But looking at next season, obviously there's got to be some changes made, recruitment, something. What happens to Somerset now?
Well, again, I hope that Morty's got more than this well. I heard he says health issues. I really wish him the best. I pray for him. But again, we're going to talk about, look what's going on with Somerset the last 5 or 6 years. Who's been up there? Andrew with it's look at the coaches that are coming in and out of their place, out of Somerset, and the direction they in. What it used to be, I don't see the following. I mean, the supporting cast, people don't. It's a failure up there now, and it's a failure. What they used to be, and with Morty going up there, with Andrew going up there, who else has been up there? There's also Jomar been there, right? Well, it's almost like it's the same thing with Boulevard. Coaches going someplace. The same thing with what I saw at St. David's. Let's see, coaches come in, but they ain't got the right environment there. It's something really wrong at the West End, and I think they need, they change presidents. And I don't think the president lives in this country. He's in another country. What is Somerset's for the next couple of years? And I see good footballers up there now? There's a few, but there's not a whole lot of quality there. I'm gonna tell you right now, there's not a whole lot of quality there. And so what will you build on if you were coaching Somerset? What type of philosophy would guarantee you that they're gonna be somewhere? They're not gonna look at the relegation. They're gonna look at what they achieved on the Devonshire Rack, and then they just fall from grace. I think that night out Devonshire Rack, it was exceptional. Remember, Cougars missed a lot of goals that night too. But I can't tell you. I just figured that it's another failure of projection for Somerset. Where they're going? Who's in charge? Who's the president of the club? What's the facilities like? What are the recruitment is like? And I think also, so should they start looking at getting players back from Somerset Eagles, back from Island Rangers, the best of them, and then become as one body what they used to be like. And you're not seeing it no more. I mean, it's just what's happening in our country. Those top clubs, that club like Somerset and the West End. I might tell you about this. The West End clubs are failing, and why? We must ask the question: why? What's going up in the West End? It's a shame.
The final Premier Division game of this weekend was at the Wellington Oval, where St. George's edged Crossroads 3-2. St. George's finally picking up another win. after, the last week where they lost back-to-back games to PHC. Crossroads still trying to figure out what they're attempting to do. But Crossroads finished, they're on 17 points, giving up 47 goals, scored 30, 5 wins, 10 losses. Maceo Crossroads, they'll survive as well, but it weren't as bad as what Somerset needed a point. But again, Crossroads making that final ditch effort to survive.
That's what they're here for, right? Making up the numbers. That's what they do. I said last week in the show, the challenge Crossroads have. I mean, it's a dumping ground for players that are not making it at other clubs, that they can go play at this level. But the challenge for Crossroads, what you see, it's been a turnover of coaches down there, is can they keep hold of Rolfie? Rolf is not going to get used to losing. Rolf Gumbo Bean comes from a winning football institution. He's not going to get used to losing. It's not something that his DNA can get used to. It's not going to get used to underperforming. It's just not going to get used to that.
Does he stay or does he go?
It wouldn't surprise me if he leaves. It wouldn't surprise me if they can't hold on to him. He might decide that, but it wouldn't surprise me. Might decide, I'll give it another shot if I can do some recruiting and I can get some decent players in to give it a shot. But it wouldn't surprise me. It could be a little musical chairs going on. It could be a conversation going on with him at North Village. I'm hearing that he's injecting himself in the executive at North Village. It could be something going on in the works behind there, but he's not going to stay and take licks. He's not capable of it. He's not a good loser. Some people are good losers.
Right.
Some people are good losers and they've been losing for a long time and it's okay. He's not a good loser. He's like me. You might see a different culture, a different character coming out of him for losing too much.
Sure.
He's not a good loser.
Yeah, Punchy, St. George's, and I'll use the same word that Maceo just used. St. George's would have showed good character today by coming back and beating Crossroads, having had a disappointing week.
Yeah. I mean, they have nothing to hold. They ain't gonna drop their heads. That's for sure. I think what they need to do is, what games they have left, just bring some integrity to the club. They did well, and then they're just falling off, and you kind of ask the question, why? Is it the goal scoring is about the quality? I think they still have quality, but there's certain aspects of their game and they're still conceding goals too. To Crossroads, right? So the falling by the wayside a bit. Now I'm looking at what they're going to do next year. Who's going to stay? Who's going to go? And I have a talk with some fellas that I work with, and I say to you, you're just starting to build an institution. Remember, it's a cricket club too. So but where is what generates the most money there? Of course, the cup match. And they gotta decide where they're going. The president of St. George's has to decide, facility-wise, how are you going to recruit, get better players, get more players, not just St. George's players. What you're going to get down there, So St. George's are still okay if they just can just start again. Look at next year and decide, okay, well, this is where we came and then we're close, but let's go and see what we're going to do next year. Start again. I think they'll be fine. I think they'll be fine. They're going to be fine.
All right. Well, we're going to take another commercial break. And when we come back, we'll talk about this race for promotion in the first division. We'll be right back.
It seems everyone knows someone who's lactose intolerant or just avoiding dairy products. And fortunately, there's a growing array of delicious and nutritious alternatives. Pacific Natural Foods have been doing things their own way simply and sustainably for over a quarter century, making non-dairy beverages with the finest possible ingredients right down to the packaging. Try Pacific Natural Original and Vanilla Hemp Milk and Almond Original Plant-Based Beverage, all sweetened or unsweetened, and low-sodium organic vegetable or chicken broth. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends, and that's what I'm thankful for.
Putting down the weapons.
You seeing this?
And welcome back. Well, yesterday at the police field, Young Man Social Club's only chance of getting promoted was them having a victory over Devonshire Colts. They got the one goal needed. They defeated Devonshire Colts 1-0 and went tied with Paget at the top of the first division table up until today. But they've put themselves in that promotion race as well as a title race. Just looking at what Social Club's been able to do of late and staying in the race. Punchy, just talk a little bit about a team like Social Club, and well, we'll get into the picks because that's that. I mean, for their final game, which is in 2 weeks' time, they will have an opportunity to be promoted by putting themselves in a position of beating Devonshire Colts just yesterday.
Oh yeah, well yeah, that was yeah. I think we predicted that too. I think if you look at like last week, we predicted they would beat that. Well, remember they beat Paget too last week. Am I correct?
Yes.
That's right. So they are in the promotion race. I think they will probably more than likely be promoted. Recruitment. Clay Darrell is playing for Boulevard. More than likely, he's gonna go back to Social Club if they get recruited. They're gonna need some players, definitely need players. And let's say we're talking about Social Club and Paget, and who else after that? Social Club, Paget, and
Wolves. Yeah.
Okay, right. So, but talent-wise, Social Club's gonna have to do recruitment for sure. They will not be promoted if they get promoted. Remember on a Sunday afternoon, the Devonshire Rec, they're gonna play Cougars. They come down to play North Village. With what they have now, they will not stay up. No way. No. So, what Social Club future with promotion will depend on the recruitment and who they can get. And that's being honest. That's really is, yeah. And where will they play the home games? What's Social Club's home games now?
Police field.
Oh, what's a police field? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, okay. But no, I'm not convinced about Social Club. I'm not convinced. And who's going to go play for Social Club?
Yeah.
Cast-offs from other teams.
Actually, let me ask Maceo. Maceo, what you think of Social Club putting themselves in a position of being promoted for a second year in a row? Remember, they were in the hunt, but fell off 2 weeks before the end of the season. Now they're put themselves right up into that last week.
Yeah, I don't really get excited about Social Club like that. My brain always thinks about the integrity of football and the development of football and what that looks like. You still got Worcester and Social Club. I'm not really excited about any of the teams that can get promoted because we're seeing what happens, right? I think the level just keeps dropping all the time. So I'm not excited about that. I mean, I have to give kudos on the other hand, being positive about it. Okay, what they're doing there is kept themselves in the hunt. They kept themselves in the hunt, and they're gotta be that unit. They'll be happy about that. They're overcome their bad periods of the season to keep themselves in the hunt. So that you got to be excited about that, you know. But again, Social Club has had the same management at Social Club for 40 years now. You can get the same product, so it can excite me, and that you know, I don't get excited about that. And when you think about it holistically in football, within a mile radius, and I think Social Club is the same conversation I have about Boulevard. You know, when you think about it in a mile radius, you got Davernshire Cougars, you got Social Club, you got Boulevard, you got North Village, you got Dennytown, you got BA, you got 6 clubs within a mile. And you can do all the recruiting you want, but you're not got the quality to pick from. You're not got the quality to pick from to be sustainable at the next level. You're not got it. The quality is just so saturated. You know, we can't afford 6 clubs in a mile.
Right.
We can't afford that. We can't sustain 6 clubs in 1 mile of each other.
Well, yesterday you also had the battle of the dominant cricket clubs in Southampton Rangers taking on St. David's. St. David's would come away with a 3-1 victory over Southampton Rangers. And all of us took Southampton, so we obviously we were all shocked at the result.
Was it actually a cricket game? Did they play cricket up there?
Yeah.
I don't think either team had on white, so no.
I know from last. We all predicted Southampton Rangers to win. But again, it goes back to what we're talking about.
Right.
It goes back to about, you know, we're having a joke about this, but seriously, you know, St. David's going up there and beat Southampton Rangers. Like, what's going on up there? So, you know, I'll tell you, this country we got to ask these questions about these clubs. And this is a club that has a facility. A lot of clubs don't have, like Social Club, like, okay, they have a club and they have a field. But what is the projection for the next 4 or 5 years? What's the junior program for Rangers? And so you're looking at it and saying, wow, what a real sad story. It's a sad story, fellas. I'm sorry to say it. I got to just say it. Management up there, they don't know. I don't know where they're going. They have what's important to them, cricket or football? What is, you know, and that's the crust of the matter, the crust of it all. I don't know what 2 years from now, where's Southampton Rangers going to be? What is their projection? The management projection, what is it they do? They don't have no lights up there. They've been playing the physical. I just don't know where they're going. So, you know, it's pointing fingers. It's like pointing fingers at people and saying, what are you doing? If you want to have a social club where people come up and drink nights and have a good time and they play, they just enjoy themselves for what it is. So that's what you're about now. It's simple. It's very easy to figure out. They have what is their projection for the next 3 or 4 years. I don't think they have it on the. I don't think they have it.
Right. Well, today.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you speak of Rangers, I'm getting messages, right? You speak of Rangers. Trust me, then you don't self-invest in yourself, and that's all the clubs. And let's go back 20 years to Rangers, or let's go to last week. Rangers would invest X amount of dollars in Jamal Wilkinson to come. 20 years ago, would they invest X amount of dollars in Kwame Tucker, Gennaro Tucker? Would they invest that money in those people? They don't. North Village invests X amount of dollars in Kenny Thompson to be down there. Where North Village invested X amount of dollars in Maceo Dio or the urban people, they don't. Somerset invested X amount of dollars in Jamal coming up there and Morty coming out there. We know that there was a complication with Somerset 10 years ago, 15 years ago, investing X amount of dollars in Dennis Braun. Dennis Braun ended up going out to Cougars. These clubs are not invested in themselves. And Rangers is the epitome of a club not investing in themselves. They're not invested, and they're not invested in sports. Rangers is doing a lot of investing in social right now. They're doing a lot of investment in social, but they're not investing in sports. So the sports people of these clubs are disappearing. They're disappearing. They're not investing in sports. Yeah.
I know. I'm sorry. That's a good point. What I brought up with St. George's in terms of I'm going back to some things about investing, because I even had a conversation with Neil Painter. I've had conversation. Where's your investment? What is your projection for the next 2 years? Lights, facilities. Do you have a netball team? Are you got what is really going on in St. George's? What's your junior program like? Are your projection for investment for the future? Because they have something to do. So what is your projection? And you got to start pointing fingers and asking questions about people in charge of these clubs. What is your projection? And you got to really start asking these questions of people. Whether they take it personally, this is a show we're talking about for Bermuda, for this country,
right.
And that's what we're talking about, Rangers, and we're talking about Suns and Eagles. We're talking about St. George's Cricket Club. What's the projection? Lights, facilities. I don't know what the projection is, and you just can't have players like Jonte, these whole brothers. If you're gonna build a future, you're gonna start looking at investing in those people, and it matters.
Right. Well, today up at Southampton Oval, it was either go back to the top of the table for Paget or eliminate BAA with a loss. And the latter happened. Actually both happened for Paget because they beat BAA 3-1. All four goals coming in the first half. Paget go back on top of the table with 33 points, and BAA were eliminated from the promotion race with the defeat, only because they now only have they can only get 31, and Wolves right now currently sit on 32, so they're pretty much out of the promotion race. So Paget done the business. However, it's not party time yet, because they can actually end up not being promoted as well as not winning the league, because their final game is against Wolves, who are in second place, 1 point behind.
That's an interesting game.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And Wolves, the thing is, and these games are 2 weeks from now, Wolves are 1 point ahead of Social Club, who play Southampton Rangers in their final match. So Wolves would have to anticipate Social Club beating Rangers. So Wolves, if they want to go up, would have to beat Paget that final game of the season.
So very interesting. And we talked about, I don't think Wolves is for real.
Well, talking about Paget,
I had a soft spot for him.
Yeah.
And they hurt my heart. They hurt my heart because last year they was playing. I went to see them and they was playing this football, and I'm saying, but they're not for real, And I talk about a John Barry going down there, or you might find Ralphie at Wolves. It comes from Wolves. All these are possibilities. If Wolves get promoted,
you just said something about winning and losing. Listen.
Yeah.
If Wolves get promoted, if Ralph went there, he would have to take 15 guys with him.
And it's possible, right? It's possible. But Wolves is not
No.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I want to butt in on this. I don't think he has to take. He don't take. No, I just think that he's.
I don't think he. Yeah,
I think it's quality there. I think Ralph will be a good fit there. I think he'll be a good fit.
Yeah, he don't have to take players.
I think he'll be a good fit there.
Yeah, I would like to see. I mean, I would also like to see Ralphie at North Village, but Wolves is not a bad fit for him.
Yeah, there'll have to be more commitment from them. But let's get back to Paget, because we're gonna get to Wolves because they played Somerset Eagles today. But Paget, coming off of that semi-final defeat against North Village, they're a little disappointed, giving up those 6 goals. But to then mentally get back on track for what they set out at the beginning of the season, and that's to be promoted. If they win the league, that's a bonus. They'll have 2 trophies in the cabinet, but taking care of business, and for a second year in a row, a game that BA must win to stay in the promotion race, they came up short again.
Makes sense, and it makes sense when you got these young players, right? And it makes sense when that pressure hits, and you got these young players, the inexperience in dealing with this young player. What you have to be conscious of, because everything in life becomes a habit and a pattern. If you have a habit of pattern of falling down at the last hurdle, that becomes a lifelong habit and pattern. You have to be conscious of that happening to people. You know, it's like Spurs. Spurs has been falling down at the last hurdle for 40 years, right? You know, all the Spurs fans feel that, and it's like they feel it now, and it's just a habit and a pattern. So you have to be careful of putting young people in that habit of pattern of falling down at that last hurdle. But it makes sense that they didn't deal with the pressure based on being young. You know, there's a lot of talk that BA don't want to get promoted. You know, that's a lot of people are saying that, and it makes sense in one sense that because what BA is doing with the players that they got is a platform to play coming out of the Andrew Bascom Youth Program, and then there's another platform that we know that these 16-year-olds, by the time they're 18, they're going to be shipped off to university. So it makes sense from that perspective, but I don't ever agree to playing and not wanting to win. I don't never agree to that I'm playing and I'm using football as a platform and I'm not honoring football by wanting, or honoring sports by wanting to win, not just football. Like I have to be honorable to sports that I'm playing if I'm competing that I want to win. You don't want to create that social piece that sports is just a social piece for because that's what we hear. Sports is a social piece for me to go out and play, have some fun, maybe have a beer. Sports has to be winning. We have to play it to win. And it develops our lives, I agree, but we have to play it to win. I could not get comfortable not wanting to win.
But Punchy, let's look at Paget. I mean, they picked up their 10th victory of the season. You know, the go along with those 2 losses, but 33 points, leading the league. 1 weekend to play, all to play for. But taking care of BAA today showed a lot of maturity and their senior leadership, you know, paved the way for them.
Yeah. Look what they've achieved so quickly, huh? But I think, you know, I'm sure Maceo has a lot of chat with
Antoine,
his cousin, Antoine, right? But look what they've achieved in such a short time. You know, if you're going to do that, then you have to think about, okay, so how we're going to sustain ourselves. You know, I think that's what Paget's going to have to think about next year. Will Antoine be coaching and playing? It can happen. I just don't think he should do it. I think he should stick to coaching and then get an assistant. You know, but what Paget is attempting to do is good. I like what they're trying to. You see the president out, the flags. It was a good atmosphere up there the other night. I'm gonna tell you, it really was. And I don't think they were too bothered. They were just happy to be in that moment. You know, but I think the main focus has been on promotion and what they're gonna do. And you know, was it last year we were talking about? Are they gonna win a game, Maceo? Was it last year?
Yeah.
Look where they are now. Look where they are now. I still think that you know, it's a learning process for the management up there, and I'm sure they listen to the program because they say they do. But it's about progress, one step at a time. I think they have a model what they're trying to do. Maybe you should look at maybe North Village and a model of where they're gonna go. Remember, they have no physical plant up there in terms of they trained on at the school. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, down at Paget. All right. It's the lights facilities. Where's the home games going to be next year? You know, they have a good supporting, you know, people that come out and see them. Like, yeah. But my fear is that if they don't do well in the first 4 or 5 games next year, would they be the same like Hamilton Parish? They'll just dwindle off, and they'll stay to survive. So Antoine should be thinking about what's for next year. I applaud them. Well done. You got to the semifinals of the FA Cup. You won. I think you're going to win the league. I really do think so. I think they will. And that's a bonus for him. With Antoine, I'm happy for him. but it's still about where you're going next.
Yeah. All right. So the final first division game was at White Hill Field, where Wolves moved into second place in the first division with 1 game to play, 1 point behind Paget, with a 2-0 win over Somerset Eagles. Wolves again. They've done enough. They've done enough to keep themselves in this mix. I know at the beginning of the season, you guys were talking about, where they're going, training, disorganized, but they find themselves in second place with 1 game to play. They're a victory away from being promoted. Are you surprised, Maceo?
No, I'm not surprised. And
why are you not surprised? Because of the level in the first division?
Because they're in the first division. That's the quality of that first division. That the lack of quality of that first division. So I'm not surprised because they got players. They got players, and this is just what they should be doing at that level. Now, I would have given them credit if they got to the FA Cup finals. And like even Paget, I would have given Paget with the players that they got to get to the FA Cup finals. If Paget would have got to the finals and didn't give up goals against North Felix, then something like that would have got me to give them credit. None of these teams in the first division get my sort of validation just yet, because none of them's done anything that has been unexpected. Like if Paget would have entered the season, or Wolves would have entered the season and not giving up goals. If they weren't giving up goals, I'm saying, oh, they're probably a little organized here. They're scoring goals. So,
well, let me just say, Paget's given up 24 goals, Wolves are giving up 17, and Social Club's giving up 16.
Yeah. So that's going to be an interesting statistic. Paget mentally don't care if they give up goals because they score goals. So if you look at what they scored way more. Yeah. So it's going to be an interesting, huh?
Yeah. They've scored 55.
Yeah, they scored 55. So Paget have a mentality. Like I've talked to the Paget people. They're like me when I was playing, Rams, commercial league. I know my team needed 4 goals to win a game. I know it. My team needed 4 goals to win a game. Paget has that mentality. My team needs 3 goals to win a game. So they're not concerned about the giving up goals. What I can say about Paget and going into that game, what I can say about is that I see Antoine as a leader of men. I'm watching it. Those are the things that I'm looking at. He has a leadership of man, and I he wants to learn the coaching piece of it and all that piece of it. And I want to see who he can encourage there next year if they get promoted. Who he can encourage there and what he can do with that. But Wolves, I'm not surprised that Wolves are in this position. I'm still not saying that they're going to get promoted.
Okay. Well,
because I think Social Club will beat their game.
Well, they play Rangers. Let's see what happens.
I think Social Club will beat their game against Rangers, and I don't know that I don't feel we'll get to the picks. I'm not picking Wolves.
Well, that's next week, because this week is the final Premier Division games. But first, let's get to our picks from this week. Okay. The PHC St. George's game, we all took PHC with the exception of Coach Keita. We all took, Punchy and I took North Village to beat Paget, and Maceo and Coach Keita took Paget. So we got an extra point there.
Keita's going way away from her heart, isn't it?
Yeah. She was having a bad week at that, I guess. Then Hamilton Parish against Robin Hood. We all took Hamilton Parish. We all took PHC to defeat Dendy Town Hornets. Myself and Coach Keita took Somerset Trojans. Punchy and Maceo, you took Boulevard. That match ended in a 1-1 draw. No points for anyone there. We all took St. George's to beat Crossroads, and they did so 3-2. We all took Devonshire Cougars to defeat North Village Rams, and they did so 2-1. In the first division, we all took Southampton Rangers. However, St. David's defeated them 3-1. We all, with the exception of Coach Keeler, took Social Club to beat Devonshire Colts, and we know Social Club won that one 1-0. We all took Wolves to defeat Somerset Eagles, and Wolves won 2-0. And we all took Paget to defeat BAA, and Paget won that 3-1. So at the end of the day, I finished with 9. Punchy finished with 9. Maceo, you had 8, and Coach Keita had 7. Putting myself on 129. Punchy moved to 118. Maceo, you're on 121. And Coach Keita moved to 117. All right, so the deciding Premier Division matches will take place on Sunday. All matches will start at the same time at 3 o'clock. And we're going to start off with PHC taking on the Boulevard Blazers. Punchy, you are up.
This PHC. It's PHC all the way for that. Boulevard's gonna get a good. Even if Boulevard show up, I don't even know if they can show up with enough men. But PHC's gonna win that.
Okay. Maceo?
PHC.
Well, you recall the last time PHC won the league, were crowned champions, the team that they were supposed to face didn't show up.
Is that what Somerset, right?
Somerset, yes.
Yeah.
This is quite possible, right? It's
quite possible. Yeah.
It's quite possible a team could show up, man. But that should be, the consequences for that should be serious.
Yeah.
The consequences for not showing up on the last day of this
I have faith in Boulevard. I have faith in Boulevard Blazers that they will show up.
Mm-hmm.
Next match. Maceo, you're up. Dendytown Hornets host Hamilton Parish.
Hamilton Parish has had Dendytown's number this season. They're found a team that they can beat, a top team that they can beat, and I'm picking Hamilton Parish again.
I'm going to take Dendytown. Only because I think they're going to want to finish this season, and they've had a horrible season. They're going to want to finish the season strong. So I'm going to take Dendytown to edge Hamilton Parish. Punchy.
That's a good one. I'm on the side with you. I think they're going to want to finish on a good note. I'm going to take Dendytown to win this.
Now, the next game is St. George's Colts at home to North Village Rams. I think after that performance up at Bernard Park and how the two teams are playing right now, I'm going to take St. George's to finish the season on a good note and beat North Village at home. Punchy.
I'm going with you all on that one also. I think the performance today was a perfect example of North Village inefficiencies and quality-wise in certain parts of their team selection. And on any given day, Blaze Hall is going to really torment Kyle, like when Kyle Knights. I just hope that they protect him. But it's a home game for St. George's. They want to finish on a high note. I just think they're going to beat North Village Thunder. Remember, the first game, they beat us at home 4-0.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm picking St. George's to beat this game.
Okay. Maceo?
Well, it'd be interesting if North Village accept. I mean, they're in the final, right? And it would be interesting if they accept that they might have to bring their overseas players in for the final. You know, if they're that serious about it, if it means that much to them. But they'll find out again next week that they're not up to the level when it comes to playing against certain players of quality. And St. George's, you know, they have too much for North Village. They have too much for North Village, and they'll beat them. You know, and if you look at the season as a whole for North Village is becoming a club that beat the teams that they should beat, and the teams that challenge them they haven't beat.
Well, the next game, Punchy, you're up. Devonshire Cougars face Robin Hood.
That's a no-brainer.
I'm just gonna put Cougars down for everybody.
It's Cougars. Yeah, that's Cougars.
Yeah, put Cougars down for everybody. Maceo, I'm not even gonna ask you, but Maceo, you're up for the final game. Somerset Trojans. Hold on, that's not right. Hold on a sec. I need to go back to the league fixtures. PHC play Boulevard. Somerset Trojans take on Crossroads in the final match. Maceo.
Crossroads would beat Somerset.
Okay. So
I think Crossroads have the firepower to beat Somerset.
Somerset. I'm going to take Somerset because they're home and they're going to want to end the season on a strong note as well. Of late, well, ever since Morty's unfortunate time having to leave the team early, they picked up a win and they picked up a draw, and now they're going to be playing at home, and I think they're going to want to finish strong at home. So I'm going to take Somerset Trojans to edge Crossroads. Punchy.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with you. I think I'm gonna go with Somerset just for the end of the season. It's home game.
Mm-hmm.
What do both teams have at stake? I think with Somerset being at home is more pride thing for them.
Mm-hmm.
I think Somerset will win that game.
Yes. Okay. All right. Well, that's it. That's it for the picks. We will know by the start of this show next week. We will know who the league champions are in the Premier Division. We already know that the Boulevard Blazers and Robin Hood will be playing in the First Division next season, but who will be crowned the Premier Division champions? And it will be between the PHC Zebras and the Devonshire Cougars. So it's all to play for those two teams next week. Everybody be looking at the watches. Everybody be looking on the phones. So yeah, if PHC take an early lead, it will settle their nerves right away, and I think they'll run away with that against Boulevard, and then they'll get the trophy handed to them. So with that, gentlemen, appreciate your time. We'll be back next week Sunday at 6 p.m. with another edition of the Island Stats Football Show. Folks, enjoy your night.
All right.